Peter, and you're watching RPTV. Joe Klassen from the Community Civic Engagement Collaborative, CCEC, presented to University of Toronto students and Regent Park residents about the impact of the CCEC work. Community Civic Engagement Collaborative is a grassroots collective of agencies and residents in Regent Park, Moss Park, St. Jamestown, and Corktown neighborhoods, working to increase civic engagement in elections and beyond through non-partisan community organizing. This presentation is a part of a course organized and held by the University of Toronto's Urban Studies Department in collaboration with Focus Media Arts Center in Regent Park. Now let's go to the presentation.
It sounds like this is a really nice alignment actually, because you're already talking in terms of civic engagement, in terms of the class. But why don't we start there? And that's the key term for our group. I can get into a bit more of the details in a moment, but let's just start with where each of us is at with this theme of civic engagement. Maybe you could just tell me a little bit what that, when you talk about that in your class, what does it mean to you? Or also, just for you individually, what does that mean to you? And do you care about it? So now about us, so the Community Civic Engagement Collaborative, we're mostly a group of mostly agencies as well as some residents that have come together over many years. In fact, the kind of work that we do has been done for many years, even before we existed. And we've brought together people from different communities. Well, now we're in Regent Park especially, that's our main focus, but also St. Jamestown, which is north of here. We've had a partnership with a network up there called the Service Providers Network for many years, and we've done work together with them, as well as Moss Park. We've had some connection to a residents association in Corktown as well. And mostly our group has focused on elections. So we get active when there's elections happening. And like we've talked about here, there's many dimensions to civic engagement. Elections is not the only one. But there are also many other ways in which people are civically engaged, certainly in the Regent Park community and other communities as well. So there's not just one way to do it. But that's the thing that we've focused on for our group, because we want to make sure that there are spaces where people in the community can engage with candidates or engage with elections materials when elections come up. I think the first, our notes go back to 2014. We've been organizing especially all candidates meetings since that time. And one thing that we try to make sure we do is that we're non-partisan, so that we're not like favoring any particular candidate, because if you're going to do something like an all candidates meeting, obviously you have to be trusted to be neutral and fair to everybody. So that's a little bit about like a kind of a summary of where we come from. But I remember I was part of an election work, I think in 2011 already here, and it wasn't the first time that the community had come together to organize events around an election. So there's a long history in Regent Park of doing this kind of work, of creating events that the community can get involved in and can educate themselves about the issues around an election and about the candidates. And so here's just a partial list of groups that have been involved with the collaborative. Obviously Focus and they do a lot for us in terms of filming. Like they film all candidates meetings, and you've seen the website that they've organized and that they have up. Lots of media support for the work. As I mentioned, the St. Jamestown Service Providers Network and the group Building Roots in Moss Park. So that's some of our representation around different neighborhoods, and as well as a number of agencies just around here. So lots of different ways that people have got involved, including the Regent Park Neighborhood Association, which is a residents group from the community. So here's a little bit of that history, and yeah, we do it for all the different kinds of elections. We've even done a by-election for a trustee, so we've got involved in the trustees' elections at times. but especially those three main levels of government, the municipal, provincial, and federal. And especially for the moderators for the debates, we try to find residents, and we've had a good history of having a variety of moderators, of leaders for these debates. One of Ismail's early engagements in the community was being a moderator for one of these debates. And then there's also voter engagement. So not just the those all candidates meetings, but there's like the electoral bodies. They send out lots of literature explaining how to register, how to vote, and so on, and we try to get that to people. Including some of the organizations work with people that are unhoused, and so there are ways for unhoused people to vote, but it's just a little bit more involved. And so often the workers from those agencies will try to encourage anybody who's interested in voting to be able to do that. There's lots of jobs that come up during an election, and so another thing we do is connect people, not just to the ones like like a poll clerk or like taking people's ballots and that kind of a thing. But also there's a lot of outreach jobs too, where people can sort of reach out to, especially perhaps they have a community that they're part of that they can especially reach out well into, and they can inform people about the election and encourage people to vote. There's lots of that happens. Especially I believe, my experience of it is more at the provincial and the federal levels. Anybody heard of vote pop-ups? It's a great little innovation. Comes out of a group called now Democracy Exchange, or a bit earlier it was called Samara Center. And it's a little bit more than, like I just gave a tiny little bit, our discussion at the beginning, of like why does this all matter? They'll set up a mock poll anywhere, like in a community center or any kind of public space. And they'll invite people to come and talk about, write things on sticky notes about what matters to them, like what are the issues that matter to you, why do you vote, why does voting matter? And then they can vote, whether it's a mock vote for a candidate or more often a vote about some issue that they make up, and they say like, what's more important for you? Is it affordable housing, or is it affordable food, or just any kind of choice that they would want to make up, or where would you like to go for a vacation? It could be anything. And people fill out these ballots, and the point of it is to accustom people to the idea of voting. This is especially for people who are first-time voters or that haven't voted before, and to have the experience of marking a ballot and as participating in an election. So we've done some of those, and many different groups in the community have done things like that. And it's a fun kind of way to get people engaged. Also, some agencies work with people that they know that are part of their communities, and they all go together to a poll to vote, and that can also be a way to motivate people to get out to vote. So lots of different ways of doing voter engagement. And I guess that's what I have for that. Any questions? And so this, just to go back to this loop, these are just photos from a lot of these all candidates meetings that we've done over the years that are on the website. So they're just looping through. You can see some of the candidates that have been present. Any questions about any of those things, like what the kinds of voter engagement we do, how we organize all candidates meetings? Oh, we also, when we do the all candidates meetings, we make an effort to get questions from across the community. So we send out little ways for people in different spaces in the community to send in their questions, and then we sort of compile a bunch of questions and we present those to the candidates. And then we also have time for people just on the floor to ask questions too. But usually the questions are, it's pretty robust, pretty diverse questions, and a lot of energy in the room. We usually get like 50 up to 100 people. Obviously there was a few less during COVID. No, actually I shouldn't say that, because sometimes it was more, because we could get people just online, and I think we had 200 for some of those. Yeah. And then, or we do in person, and then we get 50 to 100 in person. Yeah. So the strategy, I think it's mostly what I've said, is like the all candidates meetings are a way to inform people, bring people out and get them more interested in voting, as well as these different kind of voter engagement mechanisms. Those are the two main kind of lines of action in terms of gaining voter engagement. And it does seem to have an effect, like people start talking about it, right? I mean, there's other kinds of strategies that I have heard of happening elsewhere that we haven't done, but like some groups, when they have a level of capacity, like there's even door-to-door knocking and conversations with people. We haven't had the length, the sort of breadth of capacity to do that. Yeah, so we do all that. That's all that stuff. All that sort of informing people about how to vote, like whether it's using the literature from the elections bodies themselves, or sometimes we've made our own posters and sent them out. And a lot of that is email or else posting it, so lots of different sort of tactics like that. In terms of, we don't tend to have sort of said this is what people should be thinking. It's more we're creating spaces for people to bring their own concerns. But we do, we have been engaged in the community for a long time, the people that have been doing this work, and especially we'll look for questions that tend to represent the concerns of the neighborhood more. So we'll definitely forefront those questions and those would often be, they're about some kind of inclusion type things, like whether that's better access to housing or right to food or any of those issues. Those would be ones that we would more likely rise to the top. Yeah, that's a good question. We have tracked some of the voting rates, and sometimes we find Regent Park actually has a pretty good voting rate compared to a lot of other or wards. So it's Ward 13 especially that we work in, right? But Regent Park, even within that, has a pretty good voting rate, often compared to a lot of other neighborhoods in the city. But I think it's hard to really measure the impact of our work, because it's clear that when you look at what affects the voting rate in a given election, like it can go way down or it can go up, and if it goes, so a lot of the factors that are driving voting rates are, say, national or provincial at a broader level. But we certainly think that doing the work that we do, and in this community which is so active and so involved already, it's another contribution, another layer of keeping awareness high and engagement high around issues. Well, that's the things, so we come together for those. So far, I mean, we have aspirations. We've talked about doing stuff in between elections, and there's like, as you know, there's no lack of things to do in terms of civic engagement. But as I said, like there's lots of other groups that do specific kinds of civic engagement. Like if you're gonna, especially when you get into the activism side of things, if you want to bring a voice and build a voice around a particular issue, that takes a lot of really focused attention to that issue, getting inside of it, and like getting to know the players in that who are engaged with that particular issue that you're concerned about, and building like support for the positions that you want to take in the community, making sure that you're hearing the community, all those things. So really that kind of stuff is done at the issue by issue level. As for civic engagement as a whole, you can't really get far on a broad umbrella like that. You have to sort of get engaged with whatever issue it is that you want to do. Although there's other things that you could do that are done and that it could easily be done. There could be courses, for example, for neighborhood residents about what does it mean to how does government work? Like that is a big question for some people. Like just figuring out how, especially how a federal system works, where you have a division of powers between municipalities and provinces and federal. So there's that kind of work that could be done between elections. But so far, the group the work that we've done is we come together when an election happens, and we do a bunch of work at that time, and then we come together again when another election happens. Well, maybe that's what I wanted to offer you. If there's no more questions. And thanks, everybody. And, oh, I should have mentioned a group that is no longer here, but Center for Social Innovation. They were really key in supporting this work for many, many years. But as also obviously Focus and Tyrone and Adonis have been really key members of the work for many years. Yeah.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all our social media platforms. And if you need more information, go to our website.